Oh, we are live. I've sort of done the old 30-second countdown about 5 or 6 times. Nobody's come on live yet, so I thought I can't do this. I can't do this all night. At some point, I'm going to have to go live. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chat shit for like 5 to 10 minutes, and hopefully DJ's obviously otherwise engaged. He'll probably jump on in a minute, and I think a few people might jump on in the next like half an hour or so. So I thought maybe just talk a bit of nonsense for a while. I don't know what am I going to talk about, because I can't start the live commentary until at least somebody's on board. So what am I going to talk about? I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan for this at all. I don't know what to do. I could talk about Fair Street 1666. Things everyone want to talk about is kind of like wanted to talk about on Friday for the Friday night stream. So I don't really want to just talk about stuff that I'm going to talk about on Friday and talk about now and just like completely ruin everything I was going to talk about on Friday. But you know what? I've got a bit of a backlog because there was stuff I wanted to talk about on last Friday, which I didn't talk about. Oh, okay. DJ's on. Yeah, no, it's not going to be a rant. I was just waiting for someone to come on before I started the live stream because I don't want to start a live stream. What's happening on a Friday? Just another live stream. Same as what it's kind of a set routine now. Tuesday nights is going to be live commentaries. Halloween at the moment, probably go to Friday the 13th. And as you know, DJ, Friday night is just chatting the shit, taking comments, trying to sort of go on topic with a few things that have gone on in the movie world, horror related, but I always get sidetracked and I always end up just going off on a tangent. But I have got like a list of things I want to talk about on a Friday, but every time I try to talk about them, I always get lost in the comment section and end up. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, DJ, yeah. So Friday will be me hopefully talking about Jay's in the chat. What's up, Jay, man? How's it going, man? Good to see you on board, and DJ obviously on board as well. Hopefully a few people jump on for this live commentary on not the most popular of Halloween films, but I still love it. It's a insane coke fueled roller coaster of a ride, but it is what it is. Donald Pleasance is just completely insane in the film, but it's a 1989 slasher film. What's it not to love? It's the end of an era. Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, they all had their kind of swan song. Not the swan song in terms of like, it wasn't the final film for some of these franchises, but for all of them really, but it kind of felt like the end of an era. Halloween 5, it was the last proper Halloween film. Halloween 6 is just, it doesn't feel like the traditional Halloween film. Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell does not feel like the rest of the films. It feels a little bit different. And as for Friday the 13th, it really was the end of an era, because after 8, the rights changed over from Paramount to, was it New Line? I'm not sure. But it was the end of an era for Friday the 13th. And after the 80s, it just wasn't the same. I'm not a fan of film. I love it. It does, but it's still entertaining. If anyone wants to watch along, I'm gonna start at any second now because time's cracking on. This film's on YouTube. I'm just gonna watch it on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Somebody uploaded this film in its entirety on YouTube. a year ago. Nobody's bothered taking it down. So clearly they don't think much of Halloween 5. Is it who's got the rights to Halloween 5 now? They obviously don't give a shit because the film's on YouTube. It's got 500,000 views. They obviously don't care about pulling it. So yeah, I'm just going to start the film now. It's getting on for 12:15. Let's just crack on. Let's just start this shit. And I do mean, well, no, it's not shit, but I've started it too far along. Sorry. So Mustafa Akkar presents. If anyone's watched along. Also, this film has got the most late 80s introduction. That when Halloween 5 comes on the screen, the way it's written, the graphics and the sound effect when it comes on the screen, it's so like 89, so 88, so 1990. It's just so of its time. It's yeah. As I say, this is the cocaine movie of the Halloween's franchise, because I don't know what they were thinking when they were making this. I'd like to think that Pleasence was on cocaine when he made this. He probably wasn't, but it'd be nice to think he was. But yeah, I mean, 12 months on YouTube and nobody responsible for film has even bothered to try and remove the film. I don't think any of the other Halloween films are on YouTube, just free to watch, which maybe is not, a promising. It's not so promising to say about the film, but I still love it. Yeah, dog. It's the one film, DJ, where Michael actually shows like some sort of humanity. When Jamie's said to him, "Uncle," he takes his mask off and you show a tear rolling down his face. It's like, what were they trying to achieve by that? It's like, and then he immediately goes back to the old Michael of just trying to have a killer machine, and that the old music kicks in now. I say the old music. It's like a more modern take on the '78 version, and this is obviously a flashback to Halloween 4, and we show what happens to him. We show the poor hobo who just gets completely wiped out by him. Going to change the I think I've got the settings on wrong, so I'm just going to change the settings because I think I'm on the no, I've got it. It's just buffering slightly. So we're just at the point where Jamie is looking over Michael and so that he blow him away. He raises the knife. Did nobody go and check to see where he was after they shot him? It's like they go back to the house. And I'm not entirely sure how the floor just caves in either. This obviously we see what happens after the end of part 4 and he's rolling away. So even though he's a killer machine, he clearly knows that he can't do any more. He knows he needs to recuperate. So he needs to escape. He knows, even though he is a superhuman killing machine, he clearly knows that he's bitten off mud and he can chew it away with the amount of police and the amount of guns. So he just escapes. But how far does he get, and how do they not find where he is? Obviously, that's slasher logic there, right there, you know. I say the poor guy who, like, you know, nurses him for the whole 12 months. And what does he get in return? Killed. I mean, does he even take his mask off when he's looking after him? I can't remember. I'll find out now, but I can't. It's been a good 15 years, I think, since I've seen this film. But I mean, Michael does try to kill him as soon as he meets him, and like, is that not what the warning bells are there? Warning signs. Oh, DJ. I dread to think. Maybe play chess. I mean, I'm assuming Michael was like basically unconscious for the entire year, apart from like brief spells where he came into consciousness and he was too weak, and he would just feed him. Because otherwise, Michael would just killed him earlier on, as he does now. Sean is in the chat. What's up, Sean? If you want to jump on in terms of watching the movie, we are just approaching 6 minutes. Yeah, and it's, as I say, Sean, it's on YouTube. If you haven't got the copy, it's on YouTube just for free. Somebody uploaded the entire movie on YouTube, which is what I'm watching it on now. So we are just over 6 minutes in. I think we're just at Jamie. Jamie's just in the, you know, nut house. Is that politically correct? I don't know. Okay, who gives a fuck? He was a hobo. I think that's. I don't know. He's just a hobo. Like, what does he care? Must look tolerable. Well, it's looked tolerable since part 4. It doesn't get any better. So Jamie's just having some bad dreams. Yeah, it's funny, Jay. It's like some films, you put them on YouTube, they get pulled down like straight away. This has been on YouTube for a year. It's had 500,000 views, and obviously the people who own the rights to Halloween 5 don't give a flying fuck because they can't be. It's like, I'm pretty sure Halloween 1, Halloween 2, maybe, you wouldn't be able to keep them on YouTube for a year without them getting pulled. Halloween 5, who fucking cares? Just fucking let that shit fucking ride. So it's all good. It saves me having to dig out my old copy. I just watch it, and it's good for a live stream commentary because everyone can just fucking go on YouTube, and it's so easy. It's a decent copy as well. It's not like a dodgy copy. It's pretty. It's good. It's a good quality upload as well. Get to see Donald Pleasence in all his deranged, you know, form. That makes sense. Halloween Post on YouTube as well. I didn't know that. If I'd known, I wouldn't even bother getting my copy out last week. It's funny with YouTube. I don't know how YouTube works. I don't know how the algorithm works. Where if you put up something, it could be pulled down within hours, and yet you can put up an entire movie, which is like a big. This is a film that's part of multiple DVD collections, Blu-ray collections, and yet someone just uploaded to YouTube, and for 12 months nobody's bothered to even remove it. I don't understand how YouTube. I do not understand how their algorithm works. I mean, I know it's Halloween 5, and obviously, I don't expect to see Marvel films on YouTube for like longer than like a couple of hours, but I'd expect the Halloween 5 complete re-upload to be on YouTube for maybe a month, 6 weeks, but a year, and nobody's bothered to try and take it down. That just seems odd to me. Jamie's just been taken to his hospital. I mean, she doesn't do a lot in this film. She just sort of like mutters a lot and screams. Donald Pleasence is just completely insane in this film. As I say, I put it on Twitter. It is like the cocaine Halloween film. Probably 5 years too late, because I don't know what they were doing at 1989. I mean, they missed the boat. Halloween 3 should have been the cocaine movie, but I just don't know whether Donald Pleasence financially. I think I mentioned this last week. Financially, did he need to do this film? Was he in a bad place, or did he just not? Maybe his love for the franchise. Maybe he's some sort of I don't know. John Carpenter had nothing to do with this film, so it can't be any sort of allegiance to John Carpenter. Maybe Mustafa Akkad, maybe. But I don't understand why he was still doing these movies at that age. And as I say, did he need the money? I don't know. I'm glad he did it, but it's something sad, because especially part 6, because he died 6 months, a year after the film of that film. Is it? Yeah. You're not wrong. Jess is in the chat. What's up, Jess, man? Good to see you on board. I don't understand how this don't move. My YouTube's algorithm is goofy. It is very goofy. In one way, I'm glad it's up, but in another way, I don't want it to be up, because it feels like it. If you own I own a film on DVD, but so I don't feel bad about watching it on YouTube, because I did actually physically buy the film. But I always feel that if you didn't physically buy the film or physically download the film, and you're just watching it for the first time, you are kind of cheating the people who made it. But having said that, if you've never seen this film before and you've no awareness of Halloween 5, you might just stumble upon this film on YouTube. You might watch it and you might love it. You might just then go and do a bit of digging, do a bit of researching, and you might just buy the entire set on Blu-ray. So it's got its pluses and bonuses, pluses and minuses, sorry. So uploading stuff to YouTube, which shouldn't really be uploaded, it can reach a wider audience who might never see it. So it's one of them. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's got its bad sides and its good sides. But like I say, I've bought the film. I don't feel bad about watching it on YouTube, because I own it. and I'm too lazy to go and get the DVD. First time I watched it, I fell asleep. Yeah, it needs more than one viewing. Halloween 5. It it's it doesn't really. It's never going to be anybody's favorite film because people love 1. Some people love 2 because it's a direct continuation of 1, although they have issues with Michael and the setting. 3's just its own animal. Ignore 3. 4, most people love 4. It just goes back to it. It's just that Michael is vicious. It's got that really great sort of like fall feel to it, autumn feel, and it's got some likable characters. People like 6 as well because it's the payoff of The Man in Black, although the whole thing is just a bit messed up. But a lot of people like Paul Rudd in that film. 5's just kind of this strange mishmash of different films, and you've got like sort of corny music as well, and you've got these crazy cops who just really don't fly with the tone of the franchise. And Rachel gets killed off as well, and that was just like, what? Why would you do that? So yeah, it's one of those films. It's not even a love it or hate it film. I think most people tolerate it because of the franchise it's part of. I think if it wasn't such a love franchise, it wouldn't be such a love movie. And like I say, this film came out in '89. It was the end of the '80s. This film, Nightmare Part 5, Friday Part 8, all came out within a few months of each other in '89, and it was kind of the death knell for all these franchises. Halloween never really recovered from Part 5. Well, it probably hadn't recovered from Part 4, but there was a 6-year gap between 5 and 6, which tells you all you need to know. Part 5 of Nightmare on Elm Street was just an absolute shit show, and the Final Friday was even worse, and we moved into the 90s, and then it was just the end of the end. And Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason going to Manhattan, and then he turns back into a little boy, and it's just like, as I say, there was a 4-year gap, and then it came back, and it completely forgotten about what had gone on in the previous film. '89 was a pretty grim year for slasher films. It was kind of like it was the beginning of the end, and the early '90s tried to reboot things, but it didn't really do a very good job. It was kind of a failure in the most part. But I still love 1989 as a year for slasher films. It's just, there's something about that time. As I say, if you're of a certain age, you do love that period. But it's, looking back, yeah, it was the death knell for like that type of film. When they came back in the 90s, they had to change the game. They had to change things, and things would never really return to the way they were in the 80s. Big Crack Rock's in the chat. I get down with the phone. Yes, like to see you on board, Big Crack Rock. The Thorn trilogy is just, yeah, it's just one of those. I never really. Was anybody else like me who, like, they were so late to the Thorn trilogy, like they didn't even know what was going on? Like, I was a kid, and I think I said this last week. Like, say, The Man in Black, I didn't even know what was going on. I just thought, like I say, when the Man in Black got off the coach at the beginning of Part 4, I thought that was Michael. I didn't even know it was the Man in Black, and like watching it back, I'm like, I was just completely confused with what was going on. I was because as a kid, you're thinking, I just want Michael killing people. Who's this guy? What's going on? A cult? What? It was just so bizarre. And we've got the Keystone Cops, who are just absolutely bumbling idiots. If anyone's not watching along, we are 17 minutes in, but let's just go back to the chat. I totally missed the chat again. So I've read that one. I've read that as well. Carpenter's didn't come back. Yeah. Well, Carpenter, he did the theme music for free, which is part three. The theme music for free is one of the best Halloween theme. Arguably, Halloween 3 is the best theme tune for the Halloween franchise, along with 1. I think I said last week. In terms of the theme tune, 1 goes with the film better than any other. But in terms of like listening to on a pair of headphones in a darkened room, part 3 is just so good. That is just like you can't touch it. Peace be upon us. Yeah, I think his son responsible now for the whole operations that he ran. Is it Christopher Ackard now? I think it's a Christopher Ackard who like runs all that side of the business. I doubt it. I can't imagine that DJ. It possibly. I just can't imagine that. You know, the powers that be would allow them to just play the entire film. But it has got 500,000 views, so who knows? Because that's a lot of views, and it's like it has been up for a year. Yes, I don't hate this movie, but it definitely ranks low on the list, though. I like it better than Resurrection, Halloween 2018, of course. I don't like it more than 2018. I do like it more than Resurrection. I do like it more than Rob Zombie's Halloweens, but that's more the old school, being a kid, growing up, enjoying those films. But I know obviously 2018 is a new film, but I do think that the 2018 film, even though I'm watching it as an adult, it does trump Part 5 watching as a kid. I do like Part 5 watching it as a kid, but even as a kid, I remember having issues with it. But I mean, 2018 Halloween, I do like the film. I do have issues with it, but less issues than I have with Part 5. But 2018 is not as good as Part 4, in my opinion. And the Rob Zombie films, yeah, I mean, they're just fucking dog shit. I can't even. I could never watch those films again. Yeah, Rob Zombie's Halloween's yuck. R.I.P. Mustafa Akkad. He was the very first name. Any Halloween film, before anything, you always saw that name. Before Donald Pleasence, before anything, before John Carpenter, it was Mustafa Akkad. Without Mustafa Akkad, there would be no Halloween. So I saw 4 and 5 back to back and didn't come back. My God, mad. Yeah, but that's the thing about, because 4 and 5 they're so close together as well. You know, did 5 get made on the back 4 success, or did they just want to make 5 immediately after 4? Because it literally is October 88 and October 89. That's when those movies came out. Well, certainly in the UK, so it must have been the same in the States. It was just they dropped 4 and 88 October, and then 1 year later, rather than what they're doing with the new trilogy, obviously with COVID has affected that, but you know, it was going to be 2018 Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, back to back, and obviously COVID affected that, but it's an effective way of releasing films because you know you don't have time to like lose concentration. It keeps you on your toes. But I won't go into this now because I'm going to probably save this for Friday night stream. But in terms of like the way Fear Street works now, with like dropping 3 films back to back, week after week, and with the way Netflix is dropping TV shows like in one go. What is the long-term future for like long form movies which are getting cinema releases? Where do they go with do they look at maybe getting a cinema release and then dropping a month later on streaming, or do they stick to the way they're doing it now? Because I'm looking at films like Black Widow, and I think it's not done too good at the box office, but they have dropped it on Disney Plus for a $20 fee. So is that affecting the box office? Is that a good idea for them? Maybe not. And in terms of like illegal streaming, once you drop something on Disney Plus or Netflix or Amazon, although Amazon and Netflix don't tend to do cinema releases coinciding with what they're streaming, Disney Plus do. The minute you drop it on a streaming service, a good quality copy automatically goes straight onto the internet, which means a lot of people in it are going to access that film free of charge and not watch it. Whereas everybody knows that a film that remains on the cinema and doesn't get any sort of release onto streaming services, you cannot get a good copy online. And I speak from experience. I have done that, you know, I'm not going to lie. I have like streamed illegally, but you know, everybody's done it. I would never do it for the franchise I love, but everybody knows that a film that is on the cinema, which hasn't had a streaming release, you cannot get hold of online a decent copy. And so if Disney are going to drop stuff onto their streaming service whilst having it in the cinema, it's going to have an impact on their takings on the cinema. So why they do it, I don't know. I think it's a mistake. I think they should just stick to just doing cinema releases, and when they're done in the cinema, then place it onto Disney Plus with no fee. Or if they want to put a fee on it for like, you know, a couple of months and then go to the route of like the streaming for like the regular subscribers, do that. But I don't know. It's not looking good for cinemas. But at the same time, I don't know if it's looking good for streaming services either. I don't know how long this multiple streaming service nonsense go on for. You know, you can't expect the average person to be having a Netflix, Disney Plus, Shudder, Amazon Prime, Apple, half a dozen others. How can anybody on a budget afford all this? They're just going to go online and they're going to go for the cheapest option. And I've done it in the past. I've done it recently. I do have subscription services. I do subscribe to Netflix, Shudder. Amazon Prime is free at the moment because they're constantly begging me to get it free, which is nice of them. But I know that in a month's time, they'll want me to pay for it. And then they'll come back in 6 months' time and say, want to give you a free month subscription. But realistically, I can't keep Shudder and Netflix, Amazon Prime going like month in, month out. And if I absolutely binge watch everything they've got on offer, you know, within a couple of weeks, what is my incentive to stay with that service? You know, it's really they're relying now on their exclusives because they can't rely on stuff they're, you know, importing now old films because people have seen them. They really need to double down on their exclusive stuff. Shudder are doing that now, which is good because Shudder is a small service and they really need to I think they need to focus on some sort of obscure stuff, some more mainstream stuff in the 80s, and then just double down on what they're doing in terms of releasing their exclusive stuff like Vicious Fun. Great movie. If anybody's seen Vicious Fun, it's on Shudder. It's a Shudder exclusive. It's a great movie. It's low budget, but it doesn't feel like it's a low budget film. There's plenty of gore. Way better than Fear Street. Fuck Fear Street. This is way better than Fear Street. It's just such a fun movie. As I say, Netflix. Yeah, I mean, support Netflix by all means because they are putting out the original content, but they're really going to have to up their game in the next couple of years, I think, because I think they're going to come under a lot of competition. So, and the stuff they're putting out, which is not their exclusive stuff, is not that great. So they need to double down on their exclusives because a few years from now, that is the only reason you're going to be subscribing to these websites, these streaming services. That you're going to be loyal to these for what they offer, because Shudder is going to have a hardcore following of real hardcore horror fans who love what they're doing, and if they can put out something like Vicious Fun, which is a cracking little film on a low budget, if they can do that, 8-9 times a year, they've got their following. Netflix needs to do the same thing. Amazon Prime, they've got Jeff Bezos money. They probably don't need to worry too much. They've got Lord of the Rings coming. But Netflix is the one I think really needs to stay alert because I think they've got the most to lose in terms of they've built up such a following. But I think people I think with Netflix, it's almost like a case of The Emperor's New Clothes. Is it The Emperor's New Clothes where the idea of is it The Emperor's New Clothes where he walks through the town square and he's not wearing anything and everybody's too scared to say anything? It's with Netflix, it's kind of like everybody's too scared to say to Netflix, you're not that great. It's kind of like that. It's like that idea that Netflix is just too powerful to be undone, and they are the greatest, and they're not that great. Netflix is not that great. It's just a fact. The search engine on Netflix is fucking atrocious. You can't find half the stuff you want half the time. A lot of the stuff which is not their original stuff is not that good. That's just my opinion. From I don't think the user as a service, it's not very user friendly compared to other services. But again, that's just me. But as I say, I think Netflix is due a wake up call. I think they are definitely. I think they could be possibly in the next couple of years. They could face what Disney went through in the 1980s, where they think they're too big to fail, and Disney in the 1980s almost went bankrupt. So nobody's too big to fail. I'm just going back to the chat now because I've totally missed it. And Dan's in the chat. What's up, Dan? If I was more than if someone like you who's an aficionado of horror and films in general, if you're watching more of Shudder than any other platform, it's a pretty good recommendation of Shudder. I will say that. Although I don't think you were the biggest fan of Vicious Fun, were you? But I mean, fair enough. I thought Vicious Fun was really enjoyable, and for I don't know budgets, but I'm guessing the budget for Vicious Fun was probably less than Fear Street, and I thought Vicious Fun was way more enjoyable than Fear Street. I did, Jay. I hated it. I watched 1666 last night, and it's still woke, even in 16. I know they've had to, like, I've not got an issue with like the black characters being in a small town, a small village in American 1666. Obviously, they're the characters who were in 1994, but you've got extras walking around like black characters, and is that slightly unrealistic of like American in the 1660s? Would they have been there, or would they have like just been living side by side? It sounds really, really offensive now, but I'm just trying to like, I don't think that would have been a realistic setting, really, would it? Is it just me? That's no. I want the Irish accents in that film. I mean, I don't know what the Irish accent sounded like in 1666. Maybe they did sound like that in 1666, but you're constantly aware that when they went into casting, they were told to do an Irish accent, not an Irish accent of the 1660s. They just probably just said, do an Irish accent. So you're just thinking, this Irish accent is absolutely shocking. And if Sean's in the chat, I think, Sean, back me up. They were not good Irish accents. They were pretty terrible. Fuck Fear Street, AK makes review. Yeah, I mean, was it just me? It's not great, is it? Is it just me? It's not very, very good. It's the Netflix effect. It's Netflix. Oh yeah, it's Netflix. Oh, it's good. If Fear Street had dropped on Shudder, right, it would have gathered very little hype, would have received 0 column inches, would have received far less attention on YouTube, and would have just disappeared because it's on Netflix. Almighty Netflix. Everybody's talking about it, and you got all these big YouTubers raving about it, and I'm like, fuck off. Just fuck off. It's not that fucking good. Jesus Christ. If that's the bar being set for good, let's say Fear Street, first 10 minutes of part 1 were the best part of the entire trilogy, and that's it. The first 10 minutes, it went downhill after that. I'm playing Firestarter in 1994. That song came out in 1986. So at least do your research. You know, don't be playing fucking songs from 1996 in a show that's set in 1994. Anyway, no, it's like those accents were bad, very bad, and that's coming from Jay. I mean, you're a Texan. You recognise that those Irish accents were fucking terrible. God knows what Sean said. Yeah, accent was bad. So you can imagine what an Irishman made of it. Yeah, well, we've got to. DJ, you're acknowledging the obvious there. We can't do that with Halloween. You know, this is like 11 years after the original massacre, and for some reason, people are still making masks based on one of the most notorious serial killers of all time. So that's yeah. So Jess now is in 2 accounts now. So I'm making. Jess was in. He's Jess Game before. Now it's cable channel 11, but it is Jess, I think. Oh, by the way, Jess, Al said your channel sucks, and apparently my channel sucks, and I'm losing viewers since the very first video I did with him. But he's not wrong. I mean, the very first video I did was the most popular video, but I think it's more to do with the Friday the 13th algorithm, you know. Friday the 13th live stream. I think that plays a bit of part. I don't know it's to do with just Al being in the video. But yeah, I just thought I'd just let you know that, yeah, Al said that your channel it sucks, basically. And Hayden's been prank calling people 50 times a day as well. So it is what it is. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone does, yeah. Al's, it's a thing. I'm just cleaning up the car now. I actually quite like this mask. It's quite creepy. Well, Al said, I'm thinking committing suicide, I need help, which pissed me off since I didn't do it, and it's mentioned I suffer from depression. Did Al say he's thinking of committing suicide, or he said you're thinking of committing suicide? Did he say you're thinking of it, or he is? What's Green Knight? What's that done? I'm not familiar with Green Knight. Is that like a new horror film? He said you are. I just ignore it, man. I mean, it's just laugh it off. He just says he's on what he's on a bit of a rant at the minute. He's just trolling people's comment sections, and I don't know what he's doing. It's just obviously the police never came and visited him after his last threats, so he's just decided I'm just going to go and start doing it again. But yeah, just ignore it. I mean, I gained it sounds pathetic, but I gained 4 subscribers in the last week, and I thought, oh, that's good. But then usually when you get a subscriber, it says, oh, so and so subscribe to your channel, and because on each occasion that never came up, I just thought, is that just Al creating new accounts and subscribing to my channel with these multiple accounts? So if I block him, he can just keep on. It may not be, maybe it's just people who don't want to reveal that they've subscribed. I don't know, but it's, yeah, I'm kind of like, I think self, yeah. In 4 days, got like all these new, I say it's 4, but that was unusual for me. So I'm kind of like a bit paranoid now that it's just multiple accounts by one person, by you know who. So it looks really good. I'll make a note of that, Dan. Definitely. Who's DJ? It's, Al. I mean, you come on, DJ. You know Al is. Your good friend Al has been trolled. He's basically been he's been on my videos, and I think he's been putting a few emails out, and he might have been on a few other channels, and he's basically been accusing Hayden of like calling him like 40 times a day or 50 times a day, and he said that he's been chatting with Jade Stingray and saying like, oh, you know, they had a good chat and a good conversation, and they're friends now, and but Hayden's been prank calling him and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's just Al being Al, you know. It is what it is. And is where That guy Al, he did this to me, kept thinking accountant. Well, didn't he pretend to be you as well, DJ? When this whole thing, he was like ringing. I don't want to go into it but you know Al, you know what I mean, with the whole phone calls and stuff. Yeah, obviously he didn't realise you were Scottish, so I'd love to hear Al impersonating you, making phone calls. Obviously didn't realise you were Scottish, so he's probably just doing it in an American accent. I'm wondering if I something bored with this stuff. He seems to be, yeah. I know. Bad mistake. See, this is part of Halloween 5 as well. Driving, it looks like downtown LA or something. I know it's not, but it just going to the liquor store. It doesn't feel like a Halloween film. I do like the mask though. That mask is pretty cool. This way Pleasance goes completely crazy. It's like Donald Pleasance, he's got burns on one side of his face. Like, it's a pretty big explosion in part 2. Cleanness, what are your thoughts? What, the mask, or like when he takes his mask off? Because he does take his mask off. Nicolas Cage looks like a lot of people. See the problem. He at least captured the look at Halloween. He did. It's just the whole white trash thing. I just can't be dealing with that. For me, it's Halloween has always been. It's like white collar, what you call middle class. Well, what we call middle class, what you call white collar. Yeah, and the zombie Halloween films don't look like the Midwest to me. They look like the Deep South. In terms of like, I'm probably going to be a bit. I don't want to disparage the Deep South, but if they feel like sort of like, you know, white trash. is that what people describe people in the South? I mean, I don't mean all people in the South, but it's kind of like, it's not how I imagine suburban, Illinois to be. Just these hillbilly type characters who are just like foul mouthed, saying things like skull fucking. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like something I'd expect in respectable suburban Illinois. It's something I'd expect in, the Deep South. If that offends anyone who's in the Deep South, I apologise. The mask on. I think you can see a lot of things in Michael's masks. This must be like one of the longest Halloween films. It's supposed to be on par with Halloween 3, 1 hour 37. Well, taking into account credits, but probably 10 minutes too long. do we? I mean, should Halloween film really be like an hour 40? And going back to Fear Street Part 3, 1666, an hour 50 minutes long. Way too long. You do not need. We do not need an hour 50-minute, hour 54-minute Fear Street film. Every film was too long. Should have been hour 30 tops. South is generally not possible, but anyway. I think, but yeah, that's what I thought, Jay. I think that's what that's my understanding of America, is that the South is portrayed negatively. It's similar to in the UK, where I'm from the North. So the North is portrayed negatively, and the South it's a polar opposite. So in the States, from what I understand, is that you have these elites in like New York, LA, you know, in these big cities, in the East Coast, the West Coast, and they look down the nose at the southern states and maybe in the Midwest, the states, they call them the flyover states, like states like, you know, Nebraska, places like that, and they just look down the nose at these people. They think they're like, you know, because a lot of them are Republicans, from my understanding. It's in the UK, it's similar, is in terms of like, because London is in the south, so anybody in the north, they kind of look upon it as like sort of backwards. They look at us as like racist a lot of the time, but we're not. And it's that sort of, and it's similar. I think it's the same in a lot of countries. There's a gap, there's a line across the country where if you're below a certain line or above a certain line, you're seen as something or other. And in the States, yeah, in the South, people are seen as this, that, and the other. And if you're in the North, whatever. And it's the same in England. It's Oh, Lorne's in the chat as well. Oh, you mean the South? Lorne, I think Lorne, you trying to like stir up? You trying to stir things up there, Lorne? Down, look, I can say I love it in the South. That's always the key. I mean, listen, you guys are all American. I'm not. I'm trying to base it on what. See, whereas you guys probably have no knowledge whatsoever of like England and the politics, because you don't see it, because America is just so focused on itself. We're bombarded with US politics, especially when Trump was in power. It was just day to day. We were bombarded with it. And what I came to gather from, well, what I've always thought of the States is that I've got a lot more time for people in, you know, the States that are basically just treated like shit. You know, I mean, not treated like shit, but, you know, I would not want to spend a second in California. From what I've seen, that California looks like it's somewhere I'd like to go for like visit for a week and then get the hell out of there. I wouldn't want to set up home there. If I was going to set up home, I'd rather like move somewhere, you know, somewhere they don't shit on the fucking sidewalk, basically. You know, take me to Texas, maybe not Austin, because I think Austin's getting a bit sort of that way. Somewhere nice, or maybe I'd like to go to Maine, or somebody like, I don't know, Iowa, Ohio, somewhere like with just somewhere where it's not like insanely fucking woke. Because like anybody watches my channel, watches my live streams, I don't like this fucking woke fucking obsession. I don't want to go to California. That's maybe why I like Texans, because you guys are down to earth, and you know, hopefully there's quite a few people in New Jersey quite down to earth. Although I think Lorne, maybe New Jersey possibly could be going the way of getting wokeified too much, being so close to New York. But you know, you keep it real. You keep it real in New Jersey, man. don't go the way of New York. But yeah, that's just my impression of what I see on the news, and I've totally missed half the film again. I'm not American. Yeah, sure. I'd love to live in Ireland as well. I'd love to live in Ireland. True. Well, I mean, Dan, if you go on Google Maps, you need to go to downtown LA and go on Google Street View, and it's just tents everywhere. It's the have and have-nots, isn't it? In California, well, LA especially. It's you have it or you don't. Yeah, street shooting is no good. I mean, I'm not. So trust me, I'm talking from not experience myself, but my friend's been to San Francisco, and he said he's never been anywhere where he was asked for money as much as San Francisco. He said he could barely make it down the street, bro. People begging him for money, and he did see the shit on the streets as well. You don't want to live there because of the troubles. I'd like to DJ. I mean, I'd probably like to live on the west coast of Ireland, like away from everything. Just just like a seaside town, away from all that. I want some the campaigns. Apollo's in the chat. What's up, Apollo? What's up, man? Hey, Mike. Apollo was growing. Actually, watch it more than in 2018. Well, hang on, mate. Hang on, Apollo. Whoa. That's not the biggest endorsement, really, is it? You're saying you watch it more than Halloween 2018. Now, a lot of people probably would consider that like a normal go-to over Halloween 2018. I mean, I put Halloween 2018 just above Halloween 5, but I don't think it's a shocking statement. If you said you watched Halloween Resurrection over Halloween 2018, that would be a controversial statement. But this is, it's quite an understandable. It's quite perfectly understandable. Cheers, is liberal and general, but it's too much nothing. See, Lord, my friend, he went to New Jersey. I think he went to Newark, and my friend's been to about 25 states in America, and he said New Jersey was the worst state he's been to. Now, that's nothing against New Jersey for me, but he went to Newark. Now, is Newark a particularly bad part of Jersey? Did he go to the bad part of Jersey? Because obviously Jersey's a state. It's a big place. But he said Newark was where he stayed he said that's kind of like the most unsafe he's felt as well in terms of his entire visits to America. But, no one is very woke. Oh, Jay. Is he? Maybe. Are you very woke, Lord? I think Piers said you were very woke at one point. It's stupid. Michael moved back to Cincinnati to big house in England. Well, I mean, literally, big crack rock. If you go to London, literally, go and if you want to see like expensive, go to Google Street View and go to London and you go in areas of London, and you can go down the road, and there'll be an average sized house. It'd be like with 3 beds, way smaller than what you get in the States. 3 bedrooms on a couple of floors. It'd be like £3 million in London. You walk out of your front door, turn left, walk 100 yards, and there'll be a council estate, what we call a council estate, which is basically where it's people like on low budget will live. Anybody can live there, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but London's so insane that there's people prepared to pay £3 million to live in a house when the house backs onto a council estate where there's just crazy people living, you know, people who just go and like stabbing people, shooting people, you know, like crazy crime. And they'll pay that price because it's London. And they'll buy a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom small house in London for like £2-3 million. If they moved to Yorkshire or Scotland somewhere, they could buy like a 10-bedroom mansion for less than that and be miles away from any sort of crime. But they'd rather live in London and be surrounded by crime because it's London. And it's that mentality. It's that sort of like big city mentality of like, you know, oh, well, a bit like if people live in New York who spend through the nose, but obviously they have to deal with like crime on the doorstep on a regular basis. But it is what it is. If you want to spend your money on that, fair play. Oh, sorry, Jamie, what's up? Good to see you on board. I think are you live streaming too, Jamie? I'll be wrapping things up in half an hour, like so. I wasn't sure whether you were doing your Twin Peaks live stream tonight, but that's the thing. It's everybody's clashing. There's so many people streaming now. It's Tuesday night's good for me because I don't work Wednesdays and I work like 6 days a week, like stupid hours, always up early. So Tuesday's the one night where I can stay up late and just do a live stream and not worry about getting up in the morning. So that's why on a Friday I tend to do like a shorter live stream, whereas on a Tuesday I can just do one for like till 1:32. But I'm missing the chat again. There's so much to do. Listen to New experience, not as bad as Peterson in the camera, but anyways, you want to keep your eyes up. Well, yeah. As I say, as a friend who's been there, he wasn't very positive about Newark. I will say that. Is that the 4K Apollo with like the really, really bad cover with Michael and his big giant scythe? No, I mean, hopefully the picture quality is amazing, but that cover art is just terrible. I'm sorry, it is. Oh, you're gonna be on Slackercast? Oh, yes, Slackercast. They're killing it, Slackercast. I really like their stuff. I've seen it because I think I got introduced to them through Hayden or Jay. I can't remember, but they're putting out a lot of stuff and really, I mean, and just stuff. I mean, well, I think what was it? What was it? Like top 10 studs. I was like, this is different. I've like not seen this before. That is really interesting. But they're killing it. They're really putting out some good content. So I'll check that. Are they going? What time are they going live, Jamie? I might be in bed. I don't know. If they come on at 2 my time, which is I think 9 Eastern Standard, I might just jump on the live chat. But I don't know. It's getting pretty late here. I'm taking the swimming coffee. Oh, by the way, Jamie, whenever you do your Twin Peaks live streams, if I'm not in the chat, I'm not a Twin Peaks fan, so it's not impersonal. You know, occasionally, I think I might have jumped on, but I don't know anything about Twin Peaks. I watched it back in the day, about 30 years ago, and I did remember enjoying it, but I don't know enough about the show to jump on the chat or jump in the live stream because it's such a niche, and I feel like with Twin Peaks as well, it's such a hardcore fan base as well. The people who like Twin Peaks, they're so hardcore about it that if you turn up in the chat and you like, maybe not completely on board with the show, you're going to be exposed. I can imagine Twin Peaks, the fandom is pretty hardcore with Twin Peaks. Just maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it's something that like I did enjoy when I was younger, but I've not seen season 3, and I would like to go and revisit the first 2 seasons, but it's just so. I mean, there's just so much to watch now as well. But I remember like when even as a kid, feeling a bit out of my depth with it. I think I was like 14 when season 1 dropped. I remember like watching it and enjoying it, but thinking I don't really know what's going on. And then I think even after when season 2 finished, I remember watching it and I was like, I don't really know what happened. And I think I really needed to go back and revisit it as an adult, and I never did. And I think that's the problem. I think if I'd revisited it because don't forget, like I'm born in 76, so I think season 1 dropped in 90 and 2 was 91, so I was like 14, 15, 13, 14 maybe when it dropped. And I don't think that's the right age to really appreciate Twin Peaks, if you know what I mean. You were older than me, so you probably maybe a bit more mature, maybe understood the issues and what it was, the subtext of the show. I think it just went totally over my head, and I think I just enjoyed the sort of quirkiness of it and not really got the sort of deeper meaning. So I think that's probably why I never it resonated as much. So, I'm going to the show. Oh, that'll be, yeah, I'll definitely be down for that, Jamie. Yeah. So yeah, a little bit older. There's a big gap between 14, 13, and 16. Do you not think? As you're maturing, there's a big jump from your early teens to sort of mid-teens, and you think you take on a lot more on board in terms of like when you're watching stuff. I think definitely as a 13-year-old watching Twin Peaks, as if I'd been 16, I think it would have been a big difference. All right, Lauren. I'll see you tomorrow, man. We're looking forward to that. To the video I'm going to shoot tomorrow. Got a lot of things to say about that. Is Steak going to be on board tomorrow, Lauren? Has Steak watched either of the films? I got this feeling Steak hasn't watched either of the films, and he's just like not going to turn up. Yeah, I had no. I mean, I didn't even know David Lynch was at that time. I think I may have seen Blue Velvet, but not understood the film whatsoever, and didn't have a clue David Lynch was. So, yeah, I mean, David Lynch was pretty, for a 13-year-old, David Lynch was pretty far out there. It's a long show. It should be good then. Yeah. Clever use of words, dual, comparing 2 films and sort of pairing them off against each other. I don't know how he's gonna do the show, but looking forward to it. And 2 really good. He's come up with 2 peerless, really good films. Especially See No Evil, which I've never heard of. Really, 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 really good film. And hopefully, yeah, I'm looking to introduce me to some more like good horror, which I've never heard of. I was a weird kid. Just different, not weird. I've totally blanked on this film so far. I'm just like waiting for the scene where Jamie looks up and says "Uncle," and Michael starts crying. It's just so out of character for Michael. I don't know who signed this off, but it's just, I don't know. It is what it is. It feels more in line with Rob Zombie's Halloween than. Might be cool with not really. I know Dave McRae, who's like a pretty big YouTuber. He kind of like has been reporting on this. I know Tony Moran was chatting shit about Halloween fans. Now, I don't know what's happened with Daniel Harris. I know they've spoken to each other. Now, Daniel Harris obviously is quite a bitter. Is it right to say she's quite bitter about the way she's been treated by the franchise, and that she's not being given a role in any. To me, she comes across as being someone who's quite entitled. She feels like because she's been in previous films that she feels like she should be in the new series. Now I don't know, but has she had beef with him? Is she agreeing with him? So as Apollo, I have no idea. So yeah, spill the beans, man, because I don't know. As I say, I know Dave McRae on his YouTube channel, he was talking about it, but I didn't actually watch the video. But I know Tony Moran, obviously, I'm well aware of Tony Moran's opinions of the Halloween franchise and the fandom. So I'm just wondering whether. I do quite like that death. I do like that death. This YouTube stream keeps slightly buffering, which is a bit annoying. Considering it's on YouTube, I think it was. I suppose it says, I feel like streaming an upload which shouldn't really be on YouTube. Oh well. So Apollo, what is the drama then? Okay. She's really with a hard show where she attempted to aid him in the apologies he has made over the years. I don't know how she could even do that. I mean, wasn't he on camera saying it? He was on, wasn't he? Is he? I've not actually seen Tony Moran's videos, but isn't he actually on camera, like basically just criticizing the whole fandom? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how she could even attempt to aid him. But I mean, Daniel Harris, I think Daniel Harris has got her own agenda. She's definitely. I think if she doesn't end up in this trilogy, she definitely seems to be quite bitter about it. But like, why should she be given carte blanche to just appear in this new trilogy? I don't understand. So she was in Rob Zombie's version. She was in Halloween 4 and 5. That means nothing. If you're gonna try and elevate yourself to Jamie Lee Curtis level, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. You're a half decent actress who's appeared in a few B movies. You're not on the level of Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, I'd like to see her in the new trilogy, but I'm not going to make a case for it if the people in power don't want her to be in it, because she's, compared to Jamie Lee Curtis, she's irrelevant, and in this timeline, she doesn't exist anyway. So why? What part would she play anyway? It doesn't make any sense. Like Benjamin Cussy, but nothing would surprise me in this film. She and the village went into a house to watch. It's a good Oh, fucking hell. I mean, what is Tony Moran doing these days? Like, what does he do? He's not doing the convention circuit because, well, A, COVID, and B, he never had anything to do with it anyway. And he criticises the fandom anyway. So what does he do? I'm guessing he doesn't do that much if he's coming out and criticising. Maybe he's trying to make a few column inches and maybe make a bit of money. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is the guy who just literally stood there and took a mask off. And that was it, and put a mask back on. Or did just put it back on? I think that he just got. I say John Carpenter literally said he wanted a decent-looking fella to play Michael without the mask on, and that was it. And that was his entire role. That could have been anybody. Tony Moran is the guy in Halloween, the original Halloween, when Loomis approaches the stairs and he shoots Michael. There's a brief scene where you see Michael without his mask on. He pulls the mask back over his head. The face you see, that's Tony Moran. So the only time in the entire franchise where you see a clear shot of Michael, I mean, you do see it briefly in Part 5 now, but a proper clear shot of Michael, the only time in the entire franchise, not including Rob Zombies, is Tony Moran at the end of Halloween 1. That's who he is, basically. That's all he did, is he pulled the mask back onto his face, and that's it. And he's chatting shit about the franchise now and the fans. I didn't know that. I didn't know he said it was one step above porn. Has he done porn? Maybe he's done porn. On what type of porn? Some porn's pretty good. It's not all like cheap shit. I'd say some porn's better than his performance in Halloween. So we are 1 minute 12 seconds in. I think it's buffered slightly, my copy on YouTube, so I might be slightly behind. If anyone's watching, I may actually be behind you. I don't know why it's buffering. Why I'm expecting it's a flawless copy from someone's upload on YouTube, I don't know, but you know, YouTube is usually absolutely. But it's like doing this show with Lorne tomorrow. There's a film called See No Evil, but I had no way of seeing other than through Amazon Prime. And I downloaded the Amazon Prime app, to Amazon Prime Video, and watched it through my iPad. And even that was buffering. And I have got flawless internet. It's flawless internet in my house. So that's Amazon's fault. That's not my internet. That's Amazon. So even when I'm watching a film through Amazon Prime with really good Wi-Fi, it's still buffering like occasionally, and I'm like, that's why you can't dismiss physical media. That's why physical media should always be an option. It should always be there. It should always be an option, because the minute you take that away, you're at the the streaming services have got you by the balls. If standards drop, what are you going to do? If you haven't got physical media, what are you going to do? You're relying on their streaming. You're relying on their internet speeds. You're relying on their library, because they can take stuff away if you want them to do it. They can take episodes away if they feel if they're not appropriate. And that is the biggest challenge facing, I think physical media and the streaming services, in terms of like The biggest issue for me is it's nothing to do with, you know, how to wear this. I would say physical media is kind of like a lifeline to the past in terms of like what we access, and without physical media, the stream service can just take that away. So if something is like a little bit, I mean, my God, some of the stuff I've seen on physical media and on TV in the last couple of months, which would never fly on. And I think physical media, streaming services in a year or two may not even play it. Like, I mean, I watch Weird Science with Kelly LeBrock. A couple of scenes in that, you're like, bloody hell, this is not going to fly now. She's like a 25-year-old woman, although she's a robot, or, you know, she's not a human. She's just like a creation out of a computer. But she's been played by a 25-year-old woman. And she goes to a lingerie shop, and she's asking the woman who works there. She holds up a piece of lingerie and says, "Do you think this would turn on a 15-year-old boy?" And I'm like, that's just not gonna. That's just problematic in 2021. I thought I've got a problem with it, but it's one of those things. Is in 5 years from now, if that is on a streaming service, Weird Science, just a classic 80s movie, is that just going to go? Is that just going to be removed because it's not seen as like acceptable? But we need these things on physical media. We need to own these things, and we need a machine that's going to play them as well. Because the worry is that as time goes on, machines will obviously get older and not be able to play them. So are we going to be in a situation where we've got the copies of these films, but we've got nothing to play them on because they're all like just packed in? We need to future-proof. We really need to do, because I'll tell you, people need to make sure they stock up on the hardware and the software, and because this stuff in 10-15 years is going to be gone, and you won't be able to stream it. You may be able to download it from like the friggin' dark web, but ideally you've got a physical copy and you've got a piece of hardware to play it on. Because I tell you something, it's not going to be good. Right, I've completely lost the chat now. On another rant. She had her 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, she did. He said Jamie slept with her on set and cars. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know how true that could be. I could see John Carpenter just beating up Deborah Hill, though. I can imagine John Carpenter just being a fucking nut job, just completely insane. He probably just smoking. Imagine if he was smoking tons of weed. Would he really have it in him to like beat up anyone? Maybe this was before he was smoking loads of weed. I don't know. A few glaciers. Tyler means gay. Bloody hell! If he's gay, stop. That's one gay fella I would not want to tangle with. Oh yeah, he was DJ. I agree, Mike. I'm not entirely sure what to do, Jake. I've been talking that much shit. I don't even know what you agreed to. It's about physical media. I don't know. Nick Castle has. Yeah, but yeah, Nick Castle played Michael Myers without the mask, but the one scene where he takes the mask off, that's Tony Moran. So basically, you never see Nick Castle's face. Nick Castle did everything else, but that's the point, DJ. It's like the one scene which is completely irrelevant in the film. It's only relevant because you briefly see his face. That's Tony Moran. but everything else in the film, down to virtually everything else, is Nick Castle. But Tony Moran has got a god complex, and he thinks he's important because he was in one film where you briefly see his face, and he's a bit deluded. I think he's a bit of a deluded idiot, to be honest with you. Like, do you think we'll get a 50th anniversary Friday the 13th? Well, that will be 2028 and 2030. I think they'd be gone. I think they'd be. I'd be astonished. I'd be astonished. I don't think so. We're talking 9 years. I think it all depends on like people who collect physical media. If they keep it going, if there's enough demand and people who collect physical media just keep on buying in droves, they might keep it up. But I don't know. It's 9 years is a long time. I mean, you think 9 years. 9 years ago was 2012 when we had Blu-ray. We didn't have 4K, but in 2012, people were still buying DVDs. People are still buying DVDs. 9 years before 2012 was 2003, which was like DVDs were just becoming popular. I don't know. Yeah, I think if you look at like what have we got? What do we rely on when it comes to physical media, which is under threat? What do we rely on? Movies, books, video games. Is there something else? Movies, books, video games. They're the three main ones. Video games will go first. Yeah, still, because it's middle aged to older people who just buy this stuff. The younger generation just completely bypassed DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K and just went straight to streaming. I think that's the issue. I think a lot of people who buy 4K now are like people who are like in the late 30s, and the reason DVD is so popular still is because a lot of people, probably 50 plus, still buying DVDs. But I still have a VCR wings and you last a while. I think they'll last a while, but it's a case of anything's released. They don't really make it serious, or does anybody buy them? Like, going back to what I was saying, yeah, I think the video games are going to be the first to go. There isn't the market for a physical release for a video game. You know, a big bells and whistles, you know, steel book. People don't care. It's a video game. They just want the game. They don't give a shit about. Maybe some of the old school fans do, but even they, I don't think they care that much. After that, it's films. Yeah, there's a large hardcore contingent of people who want the physical media, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think in terms of like of the big three, the only thing that will survive is books. Books will never go straight to, you know, stream, as I say, streaming, like as in Amazon, because when you buy a game, what do? You put it in the Blu-ray player, or you play, you know, in whatever, and you hold the controller. What do you do with a film? You take the disc out, you put it in the DVD player, the Blu-ray player, and you watch it. There's no physical contact. Once you've taken the disc out, you put it in, there's no physical contact. With books, it's the whole experience is physical contact. And that's why I think the books are the one thing that will survive. Books have been around a lot longer than DVDs, a lot longer than video games, and they will survive for hundreds of years, maybe. But films, video games, they'll be gone in 15 years. Video games will be gone in 5 years, in my opinion, and I think films will be gone in maybe 15. but books will always be around. And yeah, Apollo, you make a good point. Vinyls, but I think vinyls. I think vinyls hark back to an older age. But I think they are different to like movies. I think there is. Maybe you know what? Maybe I might have to rethink that. No, yeah, you know, because I'm obviously aware of vinyls, but vinyls are different. It's the whole package with Blu-rays and video games. It's that disc thing. Is that like retro enough to last? With vinyl, it's got that old 60s feel to it where it can survive. I don't know whether Blu-rays, 4Ks, all that can do that. I just don't know. I think they came along too late. I think vinyls came along at a time before all that, so people still have a nostalgia for it. I don't know if that applies to something that's on a disc, but well, yeah, newspapers will definitely become obsolete, DJ. Absolutely. The older generation buy newspapers. The younger generation just get all their news online. That newspapers will definitely become obsolete. Magazines will definitely become obsolete. Um, yeah, I say music. The reason music will become obsolete in terms of CDs and like that's with music. Everything's on Spotify. Everything's on like YouTube or Apple. Maybe the one thing going in movies' favor at the minute is the fact that it's so spread out over different streaming platforms that people feel the need to physically buy something because you can't. If I'm into a band like say the Strokes or like the Beatles or whoever, I know that they're on a streaming service, and I know that they're always going to be on that streaming service. And I know if I leave that streaming service, I could probably go to another streaming service, and they'll be on that as well. With movies, you if you leave a streaming service, you don't. If you go to another one, you know that those films aren't going to be on there. So how do you keep hold of those films? Well, you'd have to physically own them. So I think in that respect, I think physical movies, you know, that's why I think they've got a longer term proposition than music because it's so fractured the movie streaming services at the minute. People can't afford to have the Netflix, Amazon Prime, Shudder, Apple. There's so many different types. You can't afford it all. Nobody can, and it's overwhelming. So that's the one thing I think it possibly goes in the favour of physical media for films. But in terms of music and video games, yeah, I think apart from vinyl, I think that's where it's like the death knell for them. I think, but even with movies, I think I say 15 years maximum. I think that'll be gone. They got well, yeah, obviously. I mean, Who's still buying porno mags in 2021? Car parks. If you go to some petrol stations, still sell them. So I've been told. Oh, here's the fame. We're getting to the famous scene now. 127 minutes in. This is where Michael takes his mask off. This is the one scene which has actually got me engrossed. I've got the famous scene where she says "Uncle," and Michael's crying like a little girl. And his eyes completely. You look like me. And then just goes completely apeshit again. So of the big three sort of slasher villains, Michael, Jason, and Freddy, it was only really Freddy who was like completely evil. Michael showed a bit of remorse there. I never really felt like Michael was completely evil anyway. Jason obviously had, mommy issues, but Freddy was just like, I mean, forgive me wrong, Freddy never, ever, ever showed any sort of remorse, ever, did he? He was completely evil. And I think that's why the Freddy versus Jason, the movie, it's like, Jason is definitely held up as like the sort of the good guy, the sympathetic guy, because you'd never buy Freddy as the good guy. He's just too evil. But because he's more human than the other two, so even though he's more human, that's what makes him more evil. He's more relatable, which makes him more of like the evil character, if that makes sense. Because Michael and Freddy are more like cartoon bad guys. So yeah, Donald Pleasant's going full on psychopath, like a knife to Jamie's throat. He's pulled out the shotgun now. Might the UK make available? I don't know, Apollo. They might have done. Maybe DJ might know that question. I'm not entirely sure. Probably, but I'm not. I'm not honestly sure. But DJ might have more of an idea than me. I would like to pick up John Carpenter's finals though, that he released a couple of years back. Why does he think that's killed him? Whacking him over the head. He shot him. He's whacking him over the head, and he gets up close and personal. I know he's completely covered in chains, but like, you know better than that, Loomis. You know what he's capable of. It's always the sign of an end of a film, isn't it? When you hear the police sirens, that's the sign the film's about to end. With one last scare, usually. I think that's something you just will never really know. I think that's part of the great thing about the Halloween franchise is, but with Michael in this universe, obviously not getting into like Rob Zombie stuff, we'll never really know like why he was just like a force of nature, and we'll never really understand why he is what he is. And I think the more you try to explain it, I think that's the problem with like the later films. The more you try to explain who he is and what he is, you just you take away more of his mystique. And I think it's best to leave it at just what he was in part one. Just he is just a force of nature. And we've got this really, really, really 80s ending with the Man in Black. I had no idea what was when I watched this film back in the day. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, "What's going on? Why is there somebody shooting?" He is just evil. He didn't choose it. I am right. Yeah. Who am I to argue with like Hollywood logic, Apollo? It is what it is. Yeah, we're not going to take his mask off. We're just going to leave it on. And of course, there'll be a 6-year gap now between this and part 6. Did anybody else like wonder like what was going on? Did anybody else like have the same feeling as me? And that is the end of Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So, what did you guys, after how many years has it been since you guys have seen that film? That's been a good 15 years, I think, since I saw that film. It's not as bad as I remember. I kind of like, it goes up and down with a lot of these films. It's like Halloween 3. I immediately put it above Halloween 2 after watching it. And Halloween 2, like after watching that recently, like went way down on my estimation. But because I haven't seen it for like 3 weeks, I'm also automatically going back up in my estimation, thinking, "Oh yeah, no, it wasn't that bad." Halloween 2 is a good film. Trying to tell myself it's a good film. Halloween 5 is kind of like it's not a great film, but it's not quite as bad as what I remember it on the last watch. But next week, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now I know that this film is kind of divisive. Probably not as much. Probably more than Halloween 5. I think with Halloween 5, people just generally don't like the film that much. I think with Halloween 6, it's a bit more like not like Rob Zombie, where people just hate it, outwardly hate it. I think this is a film where some people like it and some people hate it. I think it's one of those. It's kind of a mishmash of like it's not widely loved like the original or part 2 to a point, but I think the people who do like it really, really like it, and the people who don't like it really hate it. It's kind of one of those films where it kind of emits like quite strong feelings. But I'm quite looking forward to that one. I'm going to wrap things up now anyway. I will be live streaming on Friday nights, midnight, UK time. That'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Whatever other times, I have no idea. I'm not that clever. But just want a bit of a shout out to people in the chat. Apollo, as always. Jess, DJ, Jay. I know Lauren was in the chat. Jamie was in the chat. Dan was in the chat. And I think that's it. Big Cracker was in the chat. Sean was in the chat. Obviously, Sean. I've got to forget Sean. I think that's it. Have I forgotten anyone else? I don't think so. But anyone, thanks. I overwhelmed by the support. Thanks, guys, for the channel with like 29 subscribers. To have so many people in the chat, it's just amazing. So yeah, I will see you on Friday night, hopefully, if you're on board for that. And then I will be back next Tuesday with Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. And I will see you